fulani akiita press, akicastigate president, akicastigate security agencies. The level of pretense that we have in this government, in this country, iko juu sana. Wewe ni cabinet secretary, unaketi kwa cabinet, unaketi na rais kila siku, unaongea na polisi kila siku, unaita press kulia juu ya polisi. Justin Muturi, na unajua sheria, ulikuwa speaker. Leo mimi nakuambia.
Many people have been asking me where the country is heading and where we are, and so I would like to state as follows. I joined the Kenya Kwanza coalition owing to the fact that the principles that they espoused are in tandem with the principles of the party I belong to, namely the Democratic Party of Kenya. Many friends and political colleagues at the time warned me against joining the coalition, but at a personal level, I was persuaded that would be driven by the ideals and the values that the coalition stated as a hustler nation to do the best for the people of Kenya. One of the things we had accused the past regimes of was the existence of disappearances and extrajudicial killings of Kenyans, and we vowed that we would never, at our watch, condone or allow such. We stated this time and time again in the lead up to the last general election. Today, there has been a number of abductions and in some cases unexplained deaths since the Gen Z revolts of June last year. And it is unfortunate, as most of the people being abducted and or killed are our youth, leaving the parents, relatives, and friends, other family members in a state of confusion and loss. I have personally served as my son was abducted and disappeared, and I was not sure whether he was alive or dead, making us anxious and leaving me and my wife and the rest of the family in turmoil. It must be remembered that at the time, I was the serving Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, and as is well known, a member of the National Security Council as comprised at Article 240 of the Constitution. Despite making several requests, I was unable to trace my son, and I made demands to all the levels of the security apparatus of the country. Now, more than 6 months later, after that ordeal and the release of my son by unknown forces, he has not been charged with any offense, and the government at all levels has not been able to give me any explanation or reasons as to his abduction by hooded armed gangsters. Ladies and gentlemen, I have taken this unusual. The security sector has said that they are not involved in the abductions, but interestingly, they have failed to stop them, as they are happening in full public glare.
Fulani akiita press, akicastigate president, akicastigate security agencies. The level of pretense that we have in this government, in this country, iko juu sana. Wewe ni cabinet secretary, unaketi kwa cabinet, unaketi na rais kila siku, unaongea na polisi kila siku, unaita press kulia juu ya polisi. Justin Muturi, na unajua sheria, ulikuwa speaker. Leo mimi nakuwa ile kiboko tulipiga Gachagua ndio inakuja kwako. You resign ama nikutoe. Vile tuna resume bunge because tuko na siku 14 ndio tu resume bunge. Justin Muturi, you have 3 options. Ya kwanza, resign. Ya pili, apologize to ignore your maneno. Ya tatu, we impeach you. Tuna collect signatures. Uende nyumbani. You cannot serve the president, the government of Kenya yenye unalima kila siku.
My channel, so the Kenyan political scene seems to be charged with intense energy. Seems like every speech is sparking a new fervor, and the public enthusiasm and outrage seems to be growing every day regarding the recent abductions. So if you're not aware, that was CS Muturi giving an account of what his family went through when his son was abducted like 6 months ago. And you've also seen the response of Osoro, who happens to be the chief whip of UDA. So after Muturi gave his presser, the DCI went ahead and released this statement. That is a letterhead from the National Police Service, Director of Criminal Investigations. So the press statement read, further to the Inspector General's update on cases of abductions dated 6th of January 2025, the Director of Criminal Investigations takes note of today's sentiments by the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, Performance and Delivery Management of Kenya, Honorable Justin Bedan Muturi, who has expressed a sense of despair on the outcome of investigations on abductions. We wish to reassure the public that most of the abduction cases that were reported to the police have been successfully investigated and are now pending before court. The investigations into the current cases will be no exception. The alleged case of abduction involving CS Justin Muturi's son is active before DCI Kilimani. Considering that only the son volunteered to record a statement, we wish to invite CS Muturi and any other person with information on the incident to record statement with the DCI Kilimani. The DCI has so far opened several inquiry files that are at various stages of investigations, and the same will soon be forwarded to the ODPP upon conclusion of investigations. We continue to appeal for support from the members of the public who may be having any information that can assist in the investigations to share the same with us in confidence. The DCI reaffirms its steadfast commitment to ensuring that all abduction cases are thoroughly investigated and the culprits are brought to book. So surprisingly, CS Muturi actually went to DCI offices to give his statement, which was very surprising given that he's a serving member in KK's government. So I'm sure the DCI officers were also surprised to see him, because I'm sure that statement was just a formality. So shortly afterwards, the contents of Muturi's statement was published. His statement, Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, on the 22nd of June 2024 at 21:29, I was meeting some friends in Gigiri when I received a call from Wairimo, the wife of my son, Leslie Muturi. She told me that she had been informed by Honorable Mark Mwenje that Leslie had been abducted a few minutes ago by armed hooded gangsters. She said they had just passed the roundabout on Dennis Pritt Road and turned onto Olengruoine Avenue when the incident occurred. She stated that Leslie had been with Honorable Mark Mwenje and Marangu Imanyara at Alfajiri having drinks, and they decided to go to a birthday party in Lavington. It was during this process that Leslie was waylaid and kidnapped. The kidnappers forced him into a vehicle and drove off, and she was unable to reach him on his phone. I tried calling Leslie's phone, but it was switched off. At the time, I was with my friend Paul Muthoka. After discussing the matter with him, I called the Inspector General of Police, Japhet Kome, explained the situation, and he promised to circulate the information among various police stations and call me back. Shortly afterwards, Mark Mwenje called me from the scene and described what had happened. He said the vehicle that abducted Leslie was a white box Prado, and armed men brandishing AK-47 rifles, wearing hoods, had blocked Leslie's car, opened the driver's door, and pulled him out while the car engine was still running. Mwenje noted that at the time he called me, Leslie's car engine was still running. I then called Raymond Omolo, the PS of Interior, explained the abduction. He assured me that he would take action. I also attempted to reach the Director of Criminal Investigations, Mr. Mohammed Amin, but his phones went unanswered. I tried calling the National Intelligence Service NIS Director General, Noordin Haji, but he did not answer either. After about an hour, I called the IG again. He informed me that he had alerted all personnel on all routes, suspecting it might have been a robbery. However, I told him that based on the information provided by Mwenje, the abductors appeared to be security personnel rather than robbers. He seemed unconvinced, stating that there was no planned police operation that night. Several friends joined me at the scene, and we continued making calls to various offices and individuals who might help in locating my son. Raymond Omolo a second time, and he confirmed that he had contacted several agencies to assist in finding Leslie. However, he was still inclined to believe it was a carjacking. We learned that police from Kilimani had gone to Citizen TV to obtain CCTV footage, but the station was initially reluctant to release it. Honorable Ndungu Githinji, who had joined us, called Wachira Waruru, the CEO of Citizen TV, explained the situation and requested any information that might help identify the vehicle. Waruru later sent us footage showing the events leading to the abduction. The footage showed Leslie driving out, followed by Mwenje. The footage also captured the box Prado and another vehicle resembling a Probox following Leslie and Mwenje prior to the abduction. Around 3 a.m., I decided to send a WhatsApp message to the president, informing him about my son's abduction. Around this time, someone gave me the contact number of Said Kiprotich Mohammed, the director of Anti-Terrorism Protection Unit. As we had identified the box Prado in the CCTV footage and learned that such vehicles were often used by ATPU, I called Mr. Mohammed, but he did not answer or respond to my text message. Since I could not reach Amin, I obtained the contact of his deputy, James Onyango, and called him. He said he would look into the matter, but was unaware of any police operation that night. We eventually retired to our homes at around 5 a.m. to freshen up. While at home, around 8:15 a.m., James Onyango called and informed me that they had checked everywhere, but there was no reported case of that nature. He promised to intensify their search efforts. Shortly afterwards, Said Kiprotich Mohammed called back. After I explained the situation, he assured me that there was no ongoing operation and that ATPU was not involved. Given the anxiety at home, where many relatives and friends had gathered, I informed them of the previous night's efforts and left to continue the search. We returned to Gigiri and met with friends who had also been searching various police stations without success. Between 10 and 11 a.m., a friend from NIS called, informing me that my son was being held by their people. I shared this information with my friends, and it was agreed that I should call Noordin Haji again. Despite multiple attempts, he did not answer. Before 1 p.m., I decided to call Professor Kindiki, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior. After explaining the entire situation, he expressed shock and assured me he would contact Noordin Haji. 15 minutes later, Professor Kindiki called back saying he had spoken with the Director General of NIS, that is Noordin Haji, who denied holding Leslie. Despite my insistence that I had confirmed information from an NIS officer, Professor Kindiki maintained that the Director General could not be lying. We continued our inquiries, and I checked my phone to see if the president had read my message. He had not. Shortly afterwards, we saw the presidential helicopters heading towards State House. Knowing the president had been attending a church service in Nyandarua, I decided to drive to State House to see him in person. Upon arrival, I found that the president had just finished lunch with a group of MPs, including Mwangi Kiunjuri and Honorable John Kawanjiku. I waited until they finished their discussion, and when Mwangi Kiunjuri concluded his conversation with the president, I approached. After greetings, I informed the president about my message, and he explained that his phone had crashed due to an overload of messages. I then narrated the ordeal, including my interactions with various senior government officials who had been unable to help. I expressed my belief that NIS was holding my son. The president joked, asking why anyone would want to arrest a young man over the Gen Z demonstrations. He even mentioned that Kiunjuri's son and the sons of other officials had been involved in similar demonstrations. He then called his technician to check the status of his phone. Since it was still not functioning properly, I requested that he call Noordin Haji directly. Standing outside the pavilion, I heard the president ask Noordin Haji if he was holding my son. Noordin confirmed that indeed he was holding my son, and the president instructed him to release Leslie immediately. Noordin responded that Leslie would be released within 1 hour. After thanking the president, I drove out of State House and rejoined my friends in Gigiri and explained what had happened. Slightly over an hour later, Leslie called me to say he had been released and was at home. I then went home to see him. This is a true and accurate recollection of what transpired. And you can see it's been signed there by Justin Beda and Joka Muturi, dated 14th of January 2025. So a lot of people are wondering why he has decided to bring this matter 6 months after the ordeal. But then this is what he had to say on that press from 2 days ago?
I've not gotten any answers as to why my son was abducted, held incommunicado, and nobody gave any reasons for that abduction. I have taken this unusual step so that the matter of abductions and or extrajudicial activities being committed by whomever can now be honestly and robustly debated in the country with a view to finding a lasting solution to this scourge, which, if left unchecked, has the potential to plunge the country into chaos and anarchy. We cannot live in fear in a democratic country. Let Kenyans be. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I think there's something in the pipeline. I think CS Muturi wants out. He either wants Ruto to sack him or he's preparing to resign. And because his exit from Ruto's government is imminent, I suspect he's going to join hands with Rigiji, because if he's planning to have a future in politics and hopes to be elected by his Mount Kenya people, I'm sorry, I don't want to sound tribal, but we've seen evidence that the whole of Mount Kenya has deserted Ruto. So any politician who is hoping to be elected from Mount Kenya region cannot afford to continue working with Ruto. So just let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Thank you for stopping by. Like and share this video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.